Hello, can you hear me? I have no idea if this is working. Please comment if you can hear me. Do I have audio? Hmm. How can I figure out if we have audio? Hey, we have audio. Amazing. This is incredible. Look at me. I learned how to use Streamlabs in a whole day. It was fucking annoying. Okay. I- Hey, look at you. We've got people and things and Streamlabs. And a whole shitload of annoying things. Okay, I don't think I'm recording this. I don't know how this works. I don't know what's going on. This is really just meant to be a test. I mean, y'all have a lot to learn, but let's see if we can look at some documents just as a test of how to look at documents, see if you can read them and stuff. Because, God, I've started watching some of this YouTube stuff and I just can't abide, I cannot abide the misinformation on YouTube. Okay, so let's look at something. Let's see. Well, we can look at this and laugh at how they finally updated their website. Let's see if we can see that. And then if I can learn, I just learned how to interact with it because I'm so fancy now. I know how to use, wait, it doesn't seem to be working though. Oh, oh, look at me. I think it worked. Now I'm on the wrong page. Everything's a learning curve. This is a very steep learning curve I'm on. I'm just climbing straight uphill right now. You're watching it live. This is all very live. This is all very real, people. You're watching this all happen in real time. This is no editing. This is not there's this is all just happening unedited. Look, I can even highlight things. I think I can, I thought I could interact with it. Something, okay, I don't quite know. Something's going on. Don't seem to be able to scroll down on the web page. Slight failure there, but that's fine. We don't really need that. Well, I'll have to learn how to do that. Okay, I learned something I don't know. Now let's try to look at a document because I do think I figured out how to do that. You have no idea how much I learned about all this shit in the last day. Just for this, oh, good, good to know live auto records so that I am recording this mess as I go. Yeah, the transition was just some shit I downloaded off of Streamlabs, so tell them how much you like it. Okay, there's a document. Is that legible? Is that too small? Let's see. It's kind of small, but it's sort of legible. Yeah, I think it's doable. It's fine. What do we think? I mean, it's so much easier to have two pages on the page at the same time. It's much easier for me to like keep my place in the document. So I know it's a little fuzzy. It seems like maybe I could improve the resolution a bit with one of those settings. I don't know. You all tell me how it looks on your devices when you can see it. Um, Also, how is the audio quality? Is it okay? And I don't have any fancy music yet. I didn't get to figuring out how to do that. I did meet a guy last year on Twitter in the Twitter Matter who writes the most amazing music. I guess I could like go on his website and play some of it. He probably wouldn't be too mad at me because it would just be hyping him up if I could remember what his name was. I DM'd him and I was like, "Oh my God, if a movie ever gets made about any of this, you have to make the music because he's like a legit, he's so legit. It was incredible music, like like film score music. Uh, so you can read it if you're getting 720p, but if you're getting 420p, you can't. Yeah, it is a little fuzzy, but it's like still readable. I think that's probably it's probably consensus, but I guess if you're out in the boondocks, you might be getting just 420p and then it's probably not great. Well, we'll see how that goes. I mean, the only other option is to, let me see. First of all, I don't, oh, look at this. Okay, sorry, I'm just learning as we go here, but the other, there's something I don't know how to do. I have not figured out yet. Although, yeah, there's like a setting that in Streamlabs, once I put the document in presenter mode, I have to like reset the whole document. I am unable to figure out how to exit presenter mode. If anybody is familiar with Streamlabs, thank you for letting me know the audio quality is good. If anyone's familiar with Streamlabs and knows how the fuck to get it out of presenter, I can't get the controls back once I enter presentation mode or present. Once I click on present, it's like the controls go away, which is lovely, but then I have no idea how to get them back. I have to reset the whole document. Um, but I Googled about it, but the terms are so generic, it's very hard to Google. Okay, so let me see. If I try to make it one page, let me try to make one page and we can test that. But that means I have to reset the document because I don't have any controls. Which now I can't remember. Now I'm under pressure. I can't remember how to do. I shall figure it out. Oh, oh, look at me. I don't also quite get the difference between studio mode and editor mode. I guess studio mode just gives you the option to preview what you're going to do, and editor mode just like goes ahead and does it with no preview. I mean, I assume that this document is easier to read because the text is better. You know, this document, like, I don't know. Has anyone talked about this document? Uh, like, has everyone looked for their names on this document? Has this document been discussed? This is one of the things that I wanted to talk about, because I don't know that everyone's like been aware that if they want to, they can go and look for their name on this document, figure out which group they got categorized in, make sure that it was the proper group, make sure that they were properly categorized into opt-out or non-opt-out. Also, determine whether or not their proof of ownership was deemed sufficient or not, and just sort of no one. Okay, good. Well, that's why I'm here. So, this anyway. I guess I should probably do a real live stream now that we know this works, but um, you know, that's kind of why I just wanted to test this out. Uh, but basically, sigh. There's like 100 fucking thousand videos on the internet about total fucking bullshit, about complete nonsense, and there's no videos about the the important things. Why? Why? Okay, not that no, no, Corax, you've done good videos on the internet. I'm not meaning to disparage your videos on the internet. I did listen to a couple of videos that you did. They were useful, but you and CSI does some useful videos. I'm not disparaging every video on the internet. I'm just saying that I've listened to a lot of YouTube videos on the internet, and it's a lot more unhelpful context on the internet than it is incredibly useful context on the internet. Um, so uh, what I think I should do is probably do a video. I was going to do a video on the scheduling order, just to go back through the scheduling order. And yeah, I know they couldn't clickbait it. I was going to do a video on the scheduling order and the letter to stockholders, which I know are old documents, but I feel like people are getting really confused about why, like what the timing issues are from here, and then also just like what the next steps are, how things are going to play out from here. Because also there's some really weird some really weird timing things that I don't actually even understand how, there's this 10-day deadline from there was this proposal regarding PII that, hi CSI, you inspired this video by asking me to talk about well, you inspired me to figure out how to make a video. And I know that I could have just probably hopped on your channel, but I figured I would just learn something. Um, so uh, there's this there's this thing that the plaintiffs, they made this request that to protect the privacy of people's information. And the thing that's confusing to me about it, I mean, presumably then it's confusing to everyone else, is that it said basically that the thing that they proposed was uh, so sorry, they proposed, yeah, unfortunately it spans 2 pages, which is annoying, but they proposed that the ISO form and Gunter objections will be filed publicly, which then the ISO objection wasn't filed publicly for several days. But anyway, it eventually was on Friday evening. And then it says we will indicate the names of people who signed on to each. Uh, okay, well, somebody remembered that it said that, because then it says all other objections we filed under seal in the first instance. That was kind of true, except then they also did file like they filed some as exhibits to the affidavit. Like they filed Kevin Barnes as an exhibit to the affidavit. They filed Brian Tuttles as an exhibit to the affidavit. I think those were the only two. So, I mean, that's fine. They just wasn't quite accurate what was said here. And then says we will notify all people intending to appear in person. Sorry, I'm on the next page. We will notify all people intending. I see that this isn't doing the best job of paginating itself. I apologize. We will notify all people intending to appear in person at the settlement hearing. This is the top of the first page there, that they have 10 days to submit a redacted version of their objection that redacts any personal, confidential, or sensitive information, after which all objections from in-person presenters will be unsealed. Okay, so that says they will notify people who were intending to appear in person. The thing is that this was dated June 7th. The day before this, or the day after this, or some contemporaneous time, Zurn ruled on an exception to a special master's report and recommendation concerning in-person forms that were submitted after or by May 31st, saying that they were going to be accepted. So that means that anything that was postmarked up until May 31st was now considered a legitimate submission of an in-person presenter form, or whatever we're calling them now. So that means that the universe of people who could possibly be in-person presenters was still sort of growing over this period. Oh, what's going on? Sorry, I was getting a call. Um, and 1 second. So the thing, the pool of people was growing, and so it's like it's hard to know. Well, first of all, I don't know anyone who's actually gotten one of these forms. I don't know anyone who has actually gotten an a notification that they need to that they have 10 days to submit a redacted version of their objection that redacts any personal, confidential, or sensitive information. Um, so I don't know. Like the 10 days I think started on the 7th, which would go to the 17th, but I'm not sure. Like it's not clear to me at all. Uh, it's not clear to me at all what's going on here. So I just, first of all, if you've been notified, this was dated June 7th. Today is June 10th. So seven, they had the 8th and the 9th. And I think that probably, I guess they would have been email. So they should have everyone's email addresses unless people submitted things by mail. So then they should have notified you probably by email. Okay. So anyway, I'm very confused about how that was happening. And like, does the 10 days start as of June 7th or does it start as of when you get notified? There's just a like, I hate lack of clarity about things and lack of like minutia is my sort of favorite obsession. And here I just feel like these little things weren't fleshed out fully about how they were going to work. And that is sort of my biggest pet peeve. Anyway, then there's this next group of people, which is any class member who wishes to have their objection unsealed. This is class members now. We're talking about a different group of people. We're talking about sort of regular class members who did not submit an in-person form. So part C was class members who submitted an objection who also submitted a form that was saying they wanted to appear in person. And again, that group of people was previously just supposed to be people whose forms had been received by May 31st, but it was expanded as of like the 8th, as of actually, I think after this letter came out, after this letter was submitted and then approved by the judge, to include anyone who had submitted a form up until the 31st, as long as it was postmarked by the 31st. So this group was growing. So then D is any class member who wishes their objection to be unsealed must notify us within 10 days, and then they will unseal it. Well, I guess it means 10 days from June 7th. So again, you only have until the 17th. This also doesn't say how to notify them, what the terms of the notification are. Now, I guess, of course, you can call me pedantic or whatever. Like I just would prefer to know how the notification was supposed to happen, whether it was supposed to be by email, what you have to say. Like I mean, I'm sure I'm just being nitpicky, but it's clear to me that if you want your objection unsealed, if you're not in it, so if you're an in-person presenter, they will presumably notify you, and then they will notify you basically if you don't tell them anything, if you don't, excuse me, if you don't respond, they're going to unseal it by default. So if you submitted a form to appear in person that was properly postmarked by May 31st, then if you don't do anything, the assumption should be from this text that your stuff will be redacted, I guess, by them. I don't know, or just not redacted because you'll be showing up in person. They presume that you don't mind having your personal information since you're going to be revealing yourself in person. I guess the presumption is, which makes sense to me, that that your personal information is not a problem to have it made public. So they're going to unseal your objection, presumably as of, I guess, the 17th. Although there's a question, if none of these notifications have gone out, then would it be 10 days from the date that you received the notification? I don't know. That's unclear. Uh, so then, but the next group of people who didn't submit an in-person form, uh, then, then those people, if you want your objection to be public, if you want other people to see it and you don't want to have to like post it on the internet and try to get people to look at it, if you want it to be public, look, I don't have a dog in this fight. I literally don't. I mean, I'm just here because I'm so frustrated with how much misinformation. I'm unfortunately, tragically, like averse to misinformation. I can't stand it. And I live in the worst possible timeline for this to be my pet peeve. Like it is uh, it's the worst. I can't explain to you how bad it is for me to exist in this world right now. But I can't stand it. I do not have any position on who's who or what's what, or I've heard now these terms like yes tubers and no tubers and maybe tubers. I don't know what you all are talking. I don't care. I don't have a position in any of it. I'm not part of either clan. I don't have an affiliation. I'm not part of this discussion, okay? I'm just here to tell you what these legal documents mean because they're fucking confusing, and I want to help you understand what the rules of the game are because you're trying to play the game. No matter what side you're on in this equation, no matter what side you are on, no matter what you are doing here, no matter why you are interested in this, no matter what you're up to here, you're doing it because you're trying to play a game for some reason, right? And I just want you to understand what the rules of the game that you're playing are. I I just think that you should know, okay? But if you relentlessly attack me for no fucking reason, if you don't defend me when other stupid people relentlessly attack me for no fucking reason, if you don't step up and make sure that the community is not just incredibly toxic, I will absolutely stop providing myself to you, especially at fucking midnight on a Saturday, because it's insane that I'm here, okay? But that's just my problem. It's my problem that I'm so obsessed with this. It's my problem that I can't let it go, that there's so much bad information out there. I get that. I get that it's partly my problem. But I'm asking you, please, to please also try to just keep the energy of the thing protected for me because I want to help you guys. I want to help the community. I want to help you understand what's going on the legal side of things because it is super complex. And look, you've seen now the judge is getting very clear. You all are not supposed to be helping each other in terms of giving each other legal advice. And I'm not here to give you legal advice, but I'm here to give you legal information. But I am also a member of the Delaware Bar. I am also not committing unauthorized practice of law because I am a member of the Delaware Bar. So you have a very unique situation here where you have a member of the Delaware Bar who is willing to speak to you without charging you thousands of dollars an hour for her time. Okay, so I am not your lawyer. I am not providing you with legal advice because no one can provide you with legal advice without knowing the particulars of your individual situation. You should not rely on anything that I say as legal advice. But I am a smart person. I can read documents. I am deeply, deeply familiar with this situation, with this case, with the facts of what's going on the ground. And I know that I know more than most of you know about what's going on. And I want to help you because it's insanely frustrating for me to see how much bad information is out there. But I need you to help me because I will not continue to put my energy into helping you all if people are just going to be fucking dickheads, okay? I'm just not. I'm a normal person who has normal human responses when people are just rude. I do my best to block people, I do my best to tune people out, but at some point it becomes completely irrational for me to continue just dedicating myself to something that is just basically abuse because this community has a weird way of getting insanely toxic. And look, there are people out there who don't want me to provide the real information because they have their own agendas. So I'm going to need those of you who think that it's good for the rules of the game to be out there so that the game can be played as fairly as possible to do your best to provide a space where I can do that. Okay, thank you. End short rant there. Okay? So, uh okay. So yes, I'm a member of the Delaware Bar. I am I am I am a I am a member of the Delaware Bar. I am a Penn Law grad. I am a member of the Delaware Bar, and I am on YouTube in the middle of the night on a Saturday talking to you all about this it's a real problem that's a big question, right? It's like the legal industry is set up so that there's no incentive for anyone to help everyone. There's no incentive for me not to sell out and help people with the most money. There is no incentive for people to help people like you other than in ways that make people a ton of money to the detriment of everyone else. There's just the system is shitty in a lot of ways, and the system we do our best to make the system work right, but it's imperfect. And I think that the only way to make it better is for people to understand better how it's currently working. I do not think the way to make the system better is to just fucking scream at the system, okay? I do not think the way to make the system better is to just rail at it, like just rant and rave at it. I don't think the way to make the system better is to yell profanities at it. I don't think the way to make the system better is to go off on it constantly, like abusively. That's going to retrench the system. That's going to make the system think that you're crazy. That's going to make the system say, oh, those people are just abusive fucks. That's not the way to change the system. The way to change the system is to learn about actually what's going on with the system, okay? That you need to learn how the system actually works. By the way, I cannot follow all of your comments, so I appreciate them, and but I see the comment about mods, and that's probably a really good point. And so if you all can like maybe email me or DM me on Twitter or something also with your thoughts about I don't know how any of this shit works. I just literally learned how to use Streamlabs and go live on YouTube in the last day. I've been fucking with the software just so that I can figure this out. I'm not going to monetize this YouTube. I am not going to put ads on it, or I don't know how people monetize YouTube. I don't give a fuck about monetizing YouTube. I'm not going to charge people for a subscription to YouTube. I don't know what I don't know what's going on with YouTube and money making. That's not going to happen. You don't have to subscribe to my Substack. It's probably, I assume that everyone who subscribes to my Substack from AMC, the AMC case is going to drop off immediately after the AMC case is over, because you're probably not going to have an interest in Delaware Court of Chancery after this. So I don't really even want you to subscribe if that's your position. I just want to get through this with the court somewhat intact, and I want you all to be more educated about what it means to be a stockholder, to 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 be a corporate citizen. And I want you to understand what the system can and can't do, and I want you to understand where it might be useful to put your energy. I'm not an expert in all of that. I'm not an expert in every fucking thing that this case touches, because it touches a lot of third rails. It touches a lot of hot button issues. It touches a lot of things that I have no expertise in. And I will tell you up front that there are things that I know nothing about that you all are talking about. And some of them I'm highly skeptical about whether they're issues that aren't just sort of being fed to you by people who have a real strong interest in you believing that they're a thing, because those people have some financial interest in you believing that those things are a thing so that they can make money in some way off of that. Anyway, the point being, I am just here to try to tell you what the fucking truth of the matter is, because it's so ungodly frustrating to me that no one is doing that. And uh, I just, that's the bottom line. And and I know you all have camps and teams and shit and things, and I don't take a side. I don't have a position. I think there's several of you that I've met that I really think are nice people. I think some of those people who I think are nice people don't actually like each other. I don't care. I don't I don't I don't care. I don't care if I don't care who's friends with whom. I don't you should not dislike me because I'm friends with, or because I think someone is a decent human outside of this case. You're making the wrong assumptions. If I have I don't I don't give a fuck about whatever y'all are fighting about, okay? I just want to tell you what is going on with the law. The law is the law. You can fucking hate it. You can rail about it. You can rage about it. You can, but it is what it is. If you want to change it, if you want to make a difference, if you want to do something about it, you have to know what is so right now. You have to know where you're starting from. It's like if you wanted to go somewhere and you're in a new city or something, you have to know where you're starting from. You can't just like fire up your GPS and be like, well, you can't have access to my current location, but tell me how to get where I'm going. That's not how anything works. You can't go somewhere without knowing where you're beginning. We need to know what the law says right now so that you can know where you want it to go, or what you think is the right way for it to go, or something. Okay? Does that make sense? Like, I'm not gonna stop cussing. There's no way. Um, okay. So look, I will take the side. I take the side of the truth. I look. I got in trouble. People when I covered the Twitter matter, I was incredibly unbiased going into the Twitter matter. I watched Elon Musk interact with the legal system in exquisite detail. I followed that. I mean, I don't know. Some of you might have been around or not, but I followed that case I came in with no legal view, no emotion, no view whatsoever on Elon Musk. I fucking had a deposit on a fucking Cybertruck. I had a I almost bought a Model Y. I laughed when Elon was on Saturday Night Live. Didn't give a fuck about Elon. I mean, I just thought he was another guy. I watched him interact with the legal system for however many months in such tiny, tiny, tiny detail. And look, I came out the other end with a view on Elon Musk that is negative. I'm not going to lie about that, but it's based in fact. It's not a bias against Elon Musk. It's that I've factually seen how he interacts with our legal system. I have seen how he treats our legal system, and I think it's gross. I think it's not workable. I don't think it's right. I think it's wrong. And I had a somewhat similar, tiny, tiny experience with Adam Aaron when Adam Aaron was in the Wanda case last year, because I saw how Vice Chancellor Zern responded to what she saw in the discovery documents about Adam Aaron. And her conclusion was, oh, he kind of tried to pull one over on the minority stockholders in AMC. I didn't know anything about AMC back then, but I read her opinion and it sounded like she had, I don't know, made some findings about Adam Aaron's behavior that it was not great. And so I can certainly have a position on someone or something and their behavior that is based in truth and fact. And you can fucking call it a bias if you want, but you're using that word wrong. Okay. So I just want you to understand that I don't come into this with any particular position on AMC or even on Adam Aaron, other than that small, tiny, factual piece of information that I bring with me from the legal world, from a ruling by a judge based in facts that were found from discovery materials in a case last year. That is the only piece of information that I bring to this matter. Now, you all have years and years of history between you all, pro and con, good and bad. And I've heard a lot of it. And I don't try to weigh it that much in my thinking because it doesn't really matter to me. What I just want to tell you is what the fuck is going on with the law and what these documents say. And I don't really need to take a position. I really don't need to take a position on whether I think Adam Aaron is a good guy or a bad guy. It really doesn't matter. Now, when the case is over, maybe I'll take a position on him. I mean, it doesn't matter. It's like it doesn't. I'm a very smart person. I can actually differentiate in my mind what I think about this dude versus what these documents say. Okay, but I don't have a position on what you should do. I'm not giving you advice on what you should do. I don't have any position on what you should do financially, whether you should be in this play, out of this play. I don't even think about the metrics of the play. I don't think about the financial aspects of the play. I don't want to talk about that. I'm not going to talk about that. I'm not going to tell you whether to buy, sell, or hold. I'm not going to talk about that at all because that is not my domain and I'm never going to give you financial advice. But we'll give you the information that I know about the court because now the court is wrapped up in this. And whether that's useful to you or not, I don't know. But I think I think it should be accessible to you. I think it should be accessible to you because I think that's what's fair. I don't even know that I think it's fair that I think it's pretty unfair that the court is being used this way. I think it's pretty unfair that the court is like in the middle of this arbitrage situation. I think it's highly bullshit, but that's a whole different like story for a whole different problem that we are here, okay? And we have to deal with the fact that we're here and we have to find a way out of being here. But for us to do that, we have to people have to know what it means to be here. And there is so much bad information about where we are right now that I want to at least do some small part in remedying that. Okay, so let's see. Sorry, I'm just looking at some of your comments. Um, okay, so I don't think I'm gonna actually do this all tonight. It's late already and everything, but I just wanted to actually come on here and see if the live stream worked. You all can tell me if um if these documents are legible, at least to most of you. I think we kind of did a little test earlier, but you know, I think they're pretty much okay. They're at least decent enough that we can handle it. Um, I'm probably going to try to get something where I can like highlight on them. I don't have that going on yet. Um, and the main things I wanted to cover are basically just sorry, the the dates coming up and then the like what's next and the dates that I went over a little bit earlier about what you should do and how you should go about sort of if you want your objection to be public and what I think is going to happen with the special master's report and what I think you should expect in terms of like how much detail you should expect your objection to receive in the special master's report. Now, I have no particular knowledge about what level of detail that's going to be. I do know some thing about the reality of what's going on here. Let me pull up this one other document before you all go because there's some more of you here now. And I know that when we were first on, someone said that this document had not been made really public yet, and it's an important document. So I'll probably just like do this whole video over tomorrow in the fashion that I actually, this was again supposed to just be a test, and then I was going to actually do this live stream for real, in a real way, not just a big rant about my feelings. This document, though, is something I haven't seen get any press, despite the fact that I think it should be the most important document that you all are looking at. This is the document where you should go to see whether your objection was received and how your objection was categorized. So the thing is that, so 2,850 objections were received. Now, they said that I think 1,200 some of those didn't have proper proof of ownership. I see some of you commenting about how many more objections would have been received if it hadn't been rushed. And I hear you. Um, I do. I also want to say, you know, the court has said that you can submit late objections and they may or may not be considered, but the special master isn't writing her report. She isn't submitting her report. Well, her report is not due until the 21st. So look, if you turned it, if you're, did you ever turn in a paper late at school? I mean, I'm not suggesting one way or the other. I'm just saying there's a fact out there, which is that the judge has said you can submit a late, she can't stop you from submitting a late objection, and she can't promise that it will be considered. You have to draw whatever conclusions you draw from that on your own. But this document here tells you that yes, this document is available at the AMC. So AMC finally, because the judge finally smacked them down. I wrote that post on my Substack about how their uh, website was not updated. Like, I don't know, it feels like a year ago. It was probably only a couple of weeks ago or something. But if you go to their investor website, which is actually not really the page that it says that it is, but if you navigate down to the footer in their one website and then you find this page, then if you go to the plaintiff settlement reply brief, uh, it's the fifth link on this page here. You have to find this shareholder meeting information page, which is actually under like a stockholder information link at the bottom of some page. I will post the link somewhere because it's kind of hard to find. But if you can find this page on the AMC investor website, Um, then you just click on plaintiff settlement reply brief, and this link is actually super. No, you don't have to pay for these documents. These documents are all free, and they're available right here. Yeah, they did bury them in a kind of annoying way. I mean, I don't think it's great. Um, I wish I could like actually figure out how to interact with the internet. Let me see if I can do something here. Okay, can I be fancy? Mm-mm-mm. Trash, add, window. Sorry, y'all have to literally listen to me learn how to use Streamlabs live. Oh my God, I almost just clicked end stream. That would have been funny. Okay, I think I figured it out. So here's this is how you find it. You go to AM's, no, fuck. This is not actually how you find it. So you go to amc.com or something. Um, let's see. That's not even right either. I I don't know how you get okay, so you go to amcinvestor.com and then I will drop a link in the comments once I can figure out how to do that. But you go down to the bottom of the page on AMC investor.amctheaters.com. Okay, here it is. Oh, they actually updated the text even. Wow, they listened to all of my finally they did it. Okay. So you go down here. Do not click on Are you a stockholder? Please click here for more information, even though that would be logical. You go all the way down to the bottom, see where it says for more information on stockholder litigation and the proposed settlement. Please click the below. Okay, well, you have to somehow find that. They actually just updated that text. It used to say something completely nonsensical. Now it actually says something at least that makes sense. So then you click on this stockholder litigation information. And there they used to only, you can see the date on all these documents. They used to only have like 10 things up here. And I was ranting about it for ages. And then the vice chancellor put in one of her opinions the other day, like, what the F? And she said it slightly more kindly than that. But um, then they just dumped everything on the website. So now everything is there. Well, mostly everything. But if you go into plaintiff's reply brief, then plaintiff's reply brief has plaintiff's settlement reply brief is actually this really, it's the reply brief, but it's also all of the exhibits. And so if you go way into all of the exhibits, it's like the, is it on here? Wait, what? What's going on? I literally just found it. Sorry. It's the corrected transmittal affidavit of Thomas Curry. I lied. It's like the stacked affidavit. So it's the affidavit, and then within the affidavit, it's the affidavit inside the affidavit. So it's the 25th exhibit to the affidavit of Thomas Curry is the affidavit of Michael J. Berry. And then the affidavit of Michael J. Berry provides a log of stockholder. Uh, by the way, I'm sorry that this screen, I just fixed it. It was really fucked up. Um, So then the affidavit of Michael J. Berry providing a log of stockholder communications. Uh, hopefully now you can actually see it in the window. Um, so then you have to just scroll down like a million pages. You'll start to see just a list of people, and then you'll find your name in there or not. Um, but what's important here, so now I'm going to go back to the other screen because this is not the optimal way to look at this. But yeah, it is a fee-ception. It was like got a little affidavit with an affidavit with an affidavit. Okay, so but here's the thing. This is what I know CSI did a video on this, or has done talked about this a couple of times, like the way that plaintiffs basically, said, okay, we got 2,850 objections, this many of them didn't submit proper um thank you, Corax. This many of them didn't submit proper ownership requirement, documentation. They sort of then said, but we still took them into consideration. So that's not like fatal. Um, I have to go back and look at the exact language they used about that. But anyway, the big thing that I think you should check is to just make sure, like, is your objection on here? I mean, look, I don't know. Maybe you don't give a fuck, but why would you have bothered to uh, submit an objection in the first place if you didn't give? It just seems like you probably care. If it were me and I had taken the time to do this, I would care to know whether I had been acknowledged and, was like on the record, right? So I think you deserve to know whether you're on the record and also whether you were properly categorized according to what you think you said. So they have categorized people into various subsections. Now, this doesn't really correspond with what CSI has been talking about, which is the sort of like how they said, 100 and some number were like submitted some version of the Gunter objection, and then several hundred submitted some form of the community objection. This is more sort of was your objection, did it provide proper proof of ownership, and then did you ask to opt out? And there's a whole discussion that we'll have to have at some point about opt out, and what I think, it will be really interesting to see what the special master has to say about the issue of opt outs, because now the issue of opt out has been really fully raised by the Izzo objection. And look, we have to just grapple with the fact that the Izzo objection is going to be taken 100 times more seriously because Izzo has counsel. And like it or not, again, we have to play the game that we're playing. We have to acknowledge the fact that having counsel makes a big difference. And so the idea that there should be an opt out available in this settlement is now like fully in front of the court. And there's some interesting aspects to the way that the Izzo objection presents the issue of the opt out that we can discuss when it's not the middle of the night. Um, okay, so so someone's asking how can we opt out? You'll the currently the settlement that is like for consideration by the court is provisionally a non-opt-out settlement. So what was given to the court was for consideration. Hold on, I just want to hop back over to this other page. Okay. So anyway, you should check and see which category you're in. But what was given to the court for consideration was a settlement that was a non-opt-out settlement. That's what the parties agreed to. And so there was this big debate at the very outset when they first submitted the settlement paperwork. Vice Chancellor Zern said, well, no, this is like not, you all can't just presuppose that this is going to be a non-opt-out settlement. You can't, it's not a foregone conclusion that I am going to approve a non-opt-out settlement. You have to change the language in your settlement, in your notice, because the judge has final discretion as to whether or not a non-opt-out settlement is approved. Well, that kind of scrambled the parties' brains because they were like, "Oh, what? Like, no, we both agreed to a non-opt-out settlement. That's the only kind of settlement we agreed to." And so there was a little bit of agita at that point about what was going on. And so it's kind of like this issue that's out there in the ether. Like, what is the thinking about it? And the Izzo objection kind of brings it to the surface in an interesting way. I think what's interesting about the Izzo objection, to my mind, it at least just crystallizes a little bit about the statements that AMC made about how this idea that, I guess there's a couple of statements on the record, and I'll go into it in more detail when I actually have the documents in front of me. But this this statements that AMC made about, like, basically, we're not going to collapse the common and preferred anytime soon. We're not going to use this as a dilution mechanism. There won't be dilution anytime soon. Like, don't worry. We're not going to, we're just issuing apes. We're not doing anything else with it. So don't worry about that aspect of it. Don't worry, we're just issuing preferred stock. And so there, the Izzo's objection point is sort of like, you should allow an opt-out, even though allowing an opt-out sort of demands an indefinite injunction against the collapse of the common and the preferred. Even though that sounds weird because people are like, well, everybody's expecting an imminent collapse of the common and preferred. Well, it's like, well, but if you look at what AMC actually said to stockholders was, oh, that's not going to happen anytime soon. So there's this kind of disjunct, like, well, was it actually expected? Um, and so it's interesting. I've aged 10 years over the last 2 months in this case, so in this play. So I'm not in the play, but I'm in the case, and I feel you. Um, so there's a lot going on with that. But point is, y'all were put into categories, anyone who submitted an objection. I think it's four categories. I think it's objection with proof of ownership, yes, opt out. Objection with proof of ownership, no, opt out. Objection without proof of ownership, yes, opt out. Objection without proof of ownership, no, opt out. And so you should see where you fall because, look, not legal advice. It's just human words. But it's like, if it were me and I were looking at this list and I had gotten categorized somehow, if I had gotten miscategorized, I might want to say something about it. If it were me, I would just say, I'm just that kind of I'm just a pain in the ass kind of person. Like, I would be like, what the hey. So, I just think you should know that this is there. You should be able to see your name and, see where you are on the list, see if you're on the list, see if you're not on the list, and then do what you will with that information. I think you all are smart enough to know what you did and where you are and what you want to do about that. So, you can go see yourself and feel famous and see your name in the bright lights. Um, there's like lots of pages of this document. I mean, we can put you all on the big screen if you want here, but so there's objection with proof of ownership, no opt out, objection with proof of ownership, no opt out. So again, these are, I think, all objections that were received by, I think someone just posted the link to this above in the comments. I will try. I'm sorry. I like literally just learned how to do a YouTube video, so I'm sorry that I didn't post it in the video description. I don't even know. Oh, actually, maybe I do know how to do that. No, that screen has disappeared on me, but I will figure out how to do it afterwards. I'm sorry, I'm just like on this really initial part of the learning curve of how to do all this. So thank you for the people that are helping. You can feel free to spam the link in the comments because people are trying to find it. So if you have the link, please feel free to spam the comments with it. Okay, so this is the document. You should see if your name is in there. If someone spams the link to the whole document. It's way down in the document. You've got to like scroll down a ton of pages. Oh, and then what is this? Oh, correspondence re lack of postcard notice or new non-compliant objections, complaints due to no proof of ownership provided, yes to opt out. Oh, so these are people who didn't provide a compliant objection, but said enough to say like, "Hey, I want to opt out," and so they're still including them. And then these are people who just complained. Interesting. Huh. Okay. So, Gary, unable to hear last name on recording. Gary, you're a legend, unable to hear last name on recording. Um, okay. So, let's see. I think that's the main thing I just wanted you all to know. I didn't see anyone talking about it, and I thought you had a right to know because, again, okay, just let me tie it back to the other one thing, and then I'm seriously gonna end this live stream. I hear people say that all the time, and then I'm always like, it does not show those who support it. I don't, well, I don't, shouldn't say that. No, there it is. Yep, there you are. Supports are there. Supports, no proof of ownership. Oh, nobody who supported provided proof of ownership, I guess. So I guess all the supporters provided no proof of ownership. Uh, Most of what you missed is me trying to figure out how to use YouTube, so and me ranting about why I'm on YouTube trying to figure out how to use YouTube because I'm tired of misinformation, which was not directed at you. Um, so uh yes, the statements of support are also here. I apologize. I did not get that far the last time I opened this document. Um, so yes, but apparently no one who provided a statement of support provided a proof of ownership because there's no next column. But let me just, before I answer, okay, there's something else I flagged and then forgot what I flagged, but there's one other thing. This proposal re PII. Um, so yeah, here, this. Okay, so the reason why I want you to check this list and see what where you occur on it is, again, if you want your objection to be unsealed, if you are not Kevin Barnes or Brian Tuttle, I'm pretty sure that your objection is under seal because those are the only two other than I think Bobby Gunter, CSI, and the form objection, which I don't know, if that sort of covers like Jordan and Al, and then I mean they submitted Brian Tuttle's objection separately. You can see in that affidavit basically the other objections that were submitted. But if you're not one of those people whose objection actually appears in that as an exhibit to that affidavit, then if you want your objection to be unsealed, you must notify us, presumably being plaintiff's attorneys, at that, I would use that same email address, within 10 days. And this presumably means within 10 days of June 7th, which means by June 17th, to unseal the objections. Now, the paragraph above that, this is at the top of the first page here, means that I guess you either have the option of providing a redacted version or of just saying unseal the whole thing. But I'm going to tell you, if you didn't submit an in-person presenter form, if you're not coming to Delaware on the 29th and 30th, if you didn't submit the form by postmarked by May 31st, and you aren't, so I don't care if you're actually, it doesn't matter if you're planning on coming to Delaware. What matters is, did you submit the proper form prior to May 31st? If you didn't do that, then you're not in the category where you should be receiving notification. And even if you are in that category, if you didn't receive notification, you should notify them and then either provide a redacted copy or ask them about a redacted copy. I don't know. I'm not giving you legal advice. I'm just saying this is what the document says to do. It's not totally clear to me what the exact procedure is. I'm just saying read this little piece right here and figure out what the fuck you think it means. And then I would contact someone if you want your objection to be unsealed, is all I'm saying. Just don't want you to be disappointed that your objection never becomes public if you are really attached to it becoming public, because it doesn't occur to me like it's going to be, unless you are definitely someone who submitted your in-person presenter form properly, and then I'm still not clear about how this notification timing is going to work. So there's that. Oh, the other thing was this thing here. What does this mean? The ISO, no. All, no, what was it? Oh, yeah. The ISO form and Gundar objections will be filed publicly, and we will indicate the names of people who signed onto each. Did they do that though? Oh man. Where did they do that? Where did they do that? Where did they do that? Are you guys fighting in the comments? Do I see you all just fighting like animals in the comments? Oh God, you're fighting like animals in the comments. Why can't we have nice things? This is why we can't have nice things. Okay, let's see. Oh, that's not what I wanted. I haven't seen you fight. I get it. Okay, well, I don't see. So they said they would say who signed on to each, and I'm looking through this affidavit and affidavit inception, and I don't see it anywhere. And then, oh, no, excluded stockholders. What is that? No. Okay. So I'm looking at the Berry affidavit. Wait, what's this? Statements of support. No, we looked at that. Oh Lord, why is it always something? So I don't personally see plaintiff's reply brief. It's not in there. Why do I always have to be the one just fucking whining about things? Just nitpicking. I mean, I'm the ape. I'm the ape who nitpick. Apes are the nitpickers, right? Uh, so I don't see that they did this thing that they said they were going to do. They said they were going to identify. I mean, look, I also don't know if it matters, but I also don't see that they did it. They said they were going to identify. They said the ISO form and Gunter objections will be filed publicly, and we will indicate the name of people who signed on to each. I do not, I do not see that. It's possible that I'm missing where it happened. It's at the bottom of page 4 here. It's this A 13A, and I don't see it. I know I normally do nitpick things that should have been done right in the first place, but why does it feel like there's so many things? Um, okay, so that's 276 objectors that submitted the same or a variation of an 87-page objection brief, which they describe as, quote, authored and publicly shared on social media by Jordan Affolter. Aiton. Does he go by Ethan or Aton? Like, I feel like his Twitter name is Ethan, but his handle is Aton. Brian Tuttle and A. Matthew, amongst others, the form objectors. Um, a copy of the form of objection is attached for your review. And then 150 objectors submitted variations of the objections drafted and shared on social media by Bubby Gunter. It is Bubby Gunter. Okay, so I don't see that they did that. Y'all can do what you want with that piece of information. Um, you've got 10 days to have your objection unsealed if you want, if you didn't submit an in-person form. If you submitted an in-person form by May 31st, you should have received a notification from them about unsealing or redacting your information. If you didn't, I would reach, I don't know, if it were me, I would reach out to them, but it's your problem. I figure out what you want to do. But if you don't, that what this letter says, if you read it, if you read 13C, what this letter says is that if you submitted an in-person form by May 31st and you are supposed to receive a notification from them, and if you do not respond to it, that and submit a redacted version that redacts your personal, confidential, or sensitive information, then your objection will become public and unsealed, presumably on June 17th. It says within 10 days that you have 10 days to submit a redacted version, and then it just says after which all objections will be unsealed. That language could be cleaner. I wish that it were. But I would say that worst case scenario, you could assume if you were on the flip side, not wanting your information to, your objection to become public, but you had some expectation somehow that it would be private. You know, they say earlier here that if you submitted a written objection and you said you were going to appear in person, that your expectation of privacy is lesser because you're, like I said before, you're going to show up in person. So they're like, well, dude, you're going to show up in person. You must not be like super, you know, like your privacy must not be your number one concern. So, like I say, on the flip side, if you did that, then you should be on notice that they could be unsealing your objection as early as potentially June 17th. Okay, postcards, postcards are a whole thing, and we can talk about them at some other point. We can go through the postcard affidavit and see what we think about that. I think there's a lot to think about it. I think that it's probably just mostly an arcane system that exposes a lot of the weakness in holding stocks in street name with a broker. It certainly exposes the weakness that I don't know how many times the weakness of holding stocks with a broker like Robinhood have to be exposed before, it's shocking to me how many people still hold their stock with Robinhood in a way. To see that 1.5 million stockholders, which is the better part of the US stockholder base, is still holding with Robinhood. I mean, I understand, I get the appeal of the ease of it. But you just have to understand that if you're that online, if you're an extremely online person who wants that kind of convenience, you're going to absolutely be giving up the trade-off for getting things like old school postcard notice. Like that's the trade-off. Everything has a trade-off. Everything costs something and nothing is for free. And when you do something like say, yeah, I'm going to use a service like Robinhood. I remember when I first started trading back in an embarrassing year, like I had to pay like E-Trade $7 a trade to trade because like it was fucking expensive because I was actually not the product, I was the customer. And Robinhood is just an entirely different model, and I don't know how many times you'll have to be told that you're not the customer, you're the product. You're half of you are writing objections about things like pay for order flow, but like, so you clearly understand that there's a problem, but then half of you are still holding your stocks in Robinhood and then still complaining about the fact that you don't get notice in the old school, old fashioned way. Well, I mean, I feel, I understand, like, I feel for you that it feels unfair. I also think that it's just that you cannot have everything. You cannot have all of the old school, old fashioned, uh, sort of handwritten fucking postcards and not pay $7 a fucking trade. You cannot have it both ways. You can't have the ultra convenience and absolutely inexpensive trades like you can on Robinhood and not have it be that you're the product and not the customer. And so you're not going to get the kind of service that you think you deserve or that you think you are entitled to because it's not set up that way. And so I don't know, I think that it was suboptimal the way that it went down, but was it so suboptimal that the court is going to revise its case law on notice? I don't know because I think that postcards were an adjunctive kind of notice. They weren't the sole type of notice. Many cases in the Court of Chancery have just publication notice being not postcards, not mailing, publication meaning an 8K or a newspaper article or some sort of like mass, like many to one or one to many kind of publication, right? A postcard is a one to one, like you send one postcard to one person. Publication is when you do one New York Times article to many people. Um, Many cases just have publication notice and that's all. And and all the record holders got their postcards, and many stockholders who held in street name got their postcards. I know that a lot didn't, but that's the law of large numbers. There are bound to be a ton of people who got left out in the cold when you're dealing with so many people. And so I just am not convinced that the court is going to rewrite its case law just because we've entered an era where there are so many more retail stockholders because you can go to the SEC website, you can go to various places on the internet where these kind of concerns have been articulated. They have been told to the general public. These are risks that you take holding in street name, holding with a broker. Now, I know that the reality is that probably none of you heard that exact thing, or if you heard it, you didn't understand it, or if you signed off on it, you signed off on it by scrolling by something so fast that you absolutely didn't read it. And if you read it, you didn't understand, like you didn't process what it meant. And if you processed what it meant, you didn't think it would ever apply to you. But that's the way of the world, right? I mean, we can't I don't know. I don't have an answer for you about what I think is going to be the situation with the postcards. It's probably good enough. It's not great, but I haven't dug into the minutia about the postcard affidavit. And there are some things like the one thing that kind of is like raises my hackles a little is why there are two dates that the original letter was sent to Robin Hood because they don't explain it, and I think that that's odd. Um, so I don't know. It's not a complete violation of Kahn versus Sullivan because you are not owed an individual notice of this lawsuit as a holder in street name. You simply are not. Like, I don't, I know that that's not satisfying, but it's simply the truth. Not every single stockholder is entitled to receive an individual postcard. Not every single stockholder is entitled to be absolutely guaranteed to have had individual notice of this lawsuit. There's plenty of case law that says that that's not the law. The law is that it has to be good enough. The law is that they have to have done enough. And if you were record holders, absolutely. If you were record holders, it would be a problem. But I mean, if you were record holders, then you should that's different. I mean, if you know, it's just a different thing. Look, there are plenty of bigger issues. There are plenty of like way grander scale issues. There are plenty of you can question the class action system. You can question the whole structure of the thing. I'm not here to debate with you whether or not the entire system is whatever. I'm here to tell you what the situation is. It's just like I said at the beginning. I can tell you what the situation is, then you all can decide how much of your energy and time you want to spend on reforming the system. You have to start where you're at. You have to start by knowing what is going on the ground. You have to start by knowing where the case law is now. You can hate it. You can think that it's the dumbest thing in the world. But if you don't fully understand all of the intricacies of it, you can't do anything about it. So it's fine. You can, you can, you can, you can have ideological objections to what's going on. And many people do. There are many valid ideological objections to the class action system, the the legal system as a whole, to the way that the profession is set up, to the incentives on both sides of things, to all of it. And it's all up for debate, but it's actually a nuanced debate. It's actually something that actually there are nuances to the discussion. And if the more that you learn about the discussion, the more that you will learn that your blanket, just vitriolic positions are useless, that just screaming about how you think it's all total bullshit is never going to change a damn thing. You're just going to be another voice screaming into the void forever. If you actually want to make a change, you should seek to learn more about how it actually is in depth, in detail, right now. If you actually want to change something, you should be curious about why it is the way that it is, about what you might be missing, about why it is the way that it is, about maybe that someone has thought through it a little bit more than you, about maybe you're not the first person to think that this is a bad fucking idea. And maybe people have come before you and thought this is a bad idea. Maybe there were actually even reforms that came along and changed something, and then the pendulum swung the other way, and then it swung back the other way. And maybe this has all been done before and fought about before. You you have to give credit to the fact that you're maybe not the first person to be angry about these things. Because if you don't do that, you are not going to be able to make real change. You're just going to be another angry group of people screaming into the void. And I believe that there are real issues here that are worth like fighting for. I think that there are real issues that you all are upset about that are valid. I think that you have real concerns about the way the system is structured. I am not sold on the idea that you have real energy about these things. You have real intellectual energy about these things. You have such clear like passion, intellectual passion for these things. And I see so much of it just like going to waste because it just turns to this kind of hopeless anger. And I know, I understand why that happens, because you hit these brick walls where it just feels like no matter what you do, it's not enough because the system is so rigged or something. I get that, because there are a lot of ways where that can feel true and where that is true. But I really encourage you to like continue to push toward learning more before you give up. Because the fact is that none of you are experts at any of this yet. None of you are even close, even though some of you act like you are. None of you are even close. Some of you are making such fundamental mistakes about things, like basic mistakes, like mistakes that if I were a mean, cruel person, I would make fun of you about. But I'm not that kind of person. I am a compassionate, caring person, and I was ignorant once. I had no idea what I was doing once. And I'm sure people made fun of me once. And so I get it. And I want to help you understand where you're making mistakes and where you're misguided, because I know that you just don't know. I know that you just have had no one to tell you. I know that you have just had no one to actually take the fucking time to explain it to you, who didn't want to charge you $2,000 an hour to do so. I I get it. I get that it's frustrating. But don't if you don't stop just yelling when you don't get your way, or just giving up because you get frustrated, if you don't stop thinking that you're more expert at these things than people who actually know what they're doing, if you don't have a little bit of humility about how you're approaching this, you're not going to get anywhere. And it's so frustrating to me to watch you all have all this passion and energy and actual useful fucking you all have all this useful stuff. You have this useful juice. Like you're this useful, you could be doing things, real effective change could be happening. And instead, you're just infighting and name calling and acting like fucking childish goons sometimes. Just like I was thinking about it the other day, and I was thinking, I can't even talk to these people like they're fucking adults because they act like children half the time. And it's so fucked up that that's the way that it is. That I'm over here with a fucking law degree and a fucking Delaware bar card, and I can't talk to you like you're fucking grown-ups because you're so fucking toxic sometimes. And so no one's going to talk to you. No one's going to tell you the truth. Only people that are going to talk to you are fucking shills and assholes who are wanting to make money off of you. And you're just eating it up because that's the only information that's being given to you. And it's so fucking frustrating. So I don't know. I don't know what the solution is. Just me ranting into the evening on this fucking live stream. But like, I just wish that with a little bit of valid information, hopefully it will go a long way. Hopefully it will actually, help you understand what the reality is that you're facing. Hopefully it will help you spread the word about what's actually going on. Hopefully you will actually be able to do something useful with it and go from there. Okay. I am going to go now. I love you all. I thank you for listening. I hope you see that I genuinely just don't care how this thing resolves. I just want for you all to have access to what I think it's only fair for you to have access to, which is the level of information that I think you deserve, which is like to be able to comprehend the things that are meant for you. And the problem is, in this situation, these documents are actually addressed to you, and I don't think that sometimes half of them are very comprehensible. And it's the same kind of thing with, I mean, the problem extends throughout. The problem is revealed by this whole situation. Like, is a 10K really comprehensible? And you're supposed to read that before you invest. And it's a bigger problem. But I can only do the part that I can do, and I can help you understand these documents here. So, thank you, and I will try to get my shit together and think about what I want to talk to you about tomorrow. In the meantime, just consider, like, I know that you all have financial positions in this mostly, or I don't get why the fuck you would be thinking about it or talking about it, but you know, last year when I was covering the Twitter case, for like 1 second, that case was so painful to cover because I couldn't invest. I wouldn't. I was committed not to having a position in it because I knew that the second that I had a position in it, I would inevitably skew my view of the case, because having a financial position in something fucking melts your mind. It messes with your entire way of thinking so hard that I knew. I mean, this case, the Twitter case was so clear cut. It was so absolutely like he was dead to rights on the legal side of things. It was embarrassing how clear cut that legal case was. And so it made the trade so obvious. I would have put my entire life savings into that fucking bet. Like, it was the easiest arbitrage. It was so painful. It was like, oh my God. And I didn't put a penny into it. I calculated like how much money I could have made, and I was just like, I can't do it, because even though I knew I could like try to parse out in my mind like what was my mind talking about how much money I was going to make and how was my legal mind, I knew that it would bend my brain and I wouldn't be able to cover the case cleanly and honestly and authentically. I want you to understand that that's what's happening to your brains every day that you talk about this case, because you have a financial position in it. So you have to do the work to like really, really, really tone down your rhetoric around it. Especially the bigger that your position is in this case, I really feel like the less you should be saying about it, because you are messed up in the mind by your position. You should be ingesting information, you should be listening, you should be like maybe communing with other people for moral support. I really don't think you should be talking too much about it, because you are biased in the real sense of the word biased. You are like just brain bent. I don't think it's actually possible for humans to not have this problem. I think that it's too hard. I just think we get warped minds in this way. And that's why I never would trade on a case that I was covering. I didn't even buy one share. I was gonna at the end I was gonna buy one share just for like the I could say like I got one. Elon Musk bought one, one share. I got 5420. I had a t-shirt that I made that said 5420. I didn't even do it because as soon as I thought about doing it, my brain like started doing this funny, I could feel it doing this like funny little thing. And I just want to remind you that like anyone who owns even a single share in this trade, your minds are warped and you all act like it. Like, I'm out here on the outside and I'm telling you, you act like it. The ones of you who don't have any dog in this fight, I mean, fine, tell me that you don't, but like, you all act like you are messed up in the mind. And so, I mean, sure as shit, I'm not getting in this trade, Mike. Fucking God, I wouldn't buy this. I wouldn't get in this trade if my life depended on it, but for many reasons, but especially because, of course, I'm covering it and I never would. But you you should just realize that like you should modulate your fucking energy about this, because you all you're living in like the most toxic soup of like, someday you're going to look back on these years that you've been in this community and you're going to be like, what was I doing to myself? Because coming in here as an outsider, I just don't think, I think you've gotten really, really acclimated to a high level of like, I get that you like embrace the degenerate side to some degree. Like, I'm not opposed to that. I'm not like, I'm not I'm not opposed to that kind of life. I'm not like too good for that. But also, like, there's a limit to what you can rationally tolerate and still live a decent, healthy, normal life. And you guys are testing the limit of that. So just like maybe just think about like toning it the fuck down because you can be angry about things and not be just stupid, cruel. You can be like upset about things and not be ridiculous, just like mean to each other. And I'm sure some of it's coming from just literally bad actors who want to motivate you, and you just have to also know that and then somehow try to like not be triggered by them, and that's difficult. Okay, that's all. I thank you all, and I will talk to you. It is very hard trying to be human. Um, I will talk to you all later on. Bye bye. Let's see if I can figure